Sarah Boone is going to speak at her sentencing tomorrow. Let's take a look at what people usually include in their sentencing statements, and then specifically what she might include. Hey everybody, it's Chris from Guilty Words, where we unravel crime one word at a time. Sarah Boone will speak at her sentencing hearing tomorrow, and I am very curious what she's going to say, and of course I'll have a video on it. But in anticipation of that, I want to take a look at what she might say based on things she's said in letters in the past and what people usually say in sentencing statements. And then we can see how close we get. So let's take a look at some possibilities together. For any other trial, the point of a convicted person making a statement is to have one last say about the whole situation and maybe address the family before sentencing, maybe express some remorse. Sarah, well, I'm not sure she's going to treat her sentencing statement quite that way. For her, I think it's a last stand to showboat. I expect some of what we'll see with her will fall into these categories. We might see an emotional appeal. That's common in a lot of sentencing statements. Defensive terms, usually good to avoid in your sentencing statements, but Sarah's Sarah. Blame shifting, again, not a good thing to have in a sentencing statement, but given her letters and her behavior, I think we'll see some of that. Justification. Reflection and relational aspects of the case they've been thinking about, and some legal context. But for all of these, I'm sure they're going to have a particular Sarah spin. Let's begin by looking at the language she might use to make an emotional appeal. She might use words like apologize, regret, or I'm sorry. That's what many convicted criminals do. A bit hard to see Sarah using those words in any sincere way, but perhaps her lawyer has gotten through to her that it would be a good idea. Painful, devastated, grieving. We heard her use some of this in her police interview, albeit it didn't seem too sincere. Overwhelmed, unbearable, broken. She's used words similar to those in the past. Tragic, loss, sadness. The other thing about these emotional appeal words is that in a sentencing statement, it's good to use them when you're referring to the family that's been harmed, their loss, their grieving, their sadness, and consequently how you regret causing that. However, I'm not sure Sarah's capable of looking outward that much. If she uses these words, they'll probably be in reference to herself. Defensive terms. I expect to see a lot of these. It's not a good idea, but Sarah's never listened to advice. So things like misjudged, misfortune, miscommunication. Notice all these MISs in there. Misleading, exaggerated, mistake. Can't you see her describing her entire last 4 years with these words? Unfair. Oh, how many times did she say that in all of her letters? Accident. It was an accident. Unintentional. I know we'll hear that one. It was not intentional. It was unintentional. It was an accident. They didn't do her much good during the trial, and I don't think they're going to do her much good in her sentencing statement. Blame shifting, something that should be absolutely avoided in a sentencing statement, but which Sarah, I don't believe, will be able to prevent herself from doing. The circumstances. Misguided. Not that she was misguided, but everyone's interpretation of this is misguided. Misrepresented. Not sure what she'll say about her current attorney in particular, but over the years, the misrepresentation. Or she may say the evidence is misrepresented. Influenced. She even accused Judge Cranick in one of her letters of being influenced by lawyers and maybe even the media. contributed. All kinds of things contributed to her doing this, not the least of which is she was a battered spouse, allegedly. Neglected. Her needs have been neglected. Her voice has been neglected. She has been neglected. Unaware. She was unaware he was in that suitcase. Wasn't her fault. And of course, the media is to blame because she couldn't possibly get a fair trial because of all of us mindless lemmings who are here on YouTube talking about her. She may also try and justify her crime. Again, like blame shifting, not a good idea. This is the time to take accountability, express regret, and pray for mercy. But Sarah's not really shown that she's willing to do any of that. She may talk about her relationship with George and how the toxicity justified this with her self-defense. Struggled, how they struggled so much together. Bond, love, caring, passionate, commitment, all of these things in her relationship with George is why she stayed and how she tried to help him, and even though he was so abusive, her justification for being there and not leaving and maybe not calling the police. Doesn't really wash. Another piece to a sentencing statement is the idea that the person has done some kind of self-reflection and learned something from this experience, and that relationally they understand the effect that this has had on other people as well as themselves. You may hear words like growth, understanding, hindsight, learned, experience, family. In Sarah's case, being a mother, she trots her son out when it's convenient for her. And support, the idea that Sarah has learned from her mistakes. But the problem is Sarah never has admitted she made any mistakes, so until you do that, you really can't learn from them. But the most important word I want to hear her say, and I don't know if she will, and I'm going to be listening for it, is George. Will she use his name? She hasn't used it much. In her interviews with the police, her interrogations, she barely mentioned it. It was him or her boyfriend. Will she mention George's name in her sentencing statement? Let's all listen for it and see how she uses it if she does. And the legal context. Again, should be avoided in a sentencing statement, but Sarah, I don't think she'll be able to resist bringing this up. It goes right along with shifting blame. The truth about what happened, which apparently nobody understands but her. The evidence, which people misunderstood. The system, which has been out to get her from the beginning. How many letters have we read about the system being against her? Misjudgment. Certainly she thinks Judge Kranick has made a lot of misjudgments in this, but I'm sure she thinks the jury has as well. The trial itself. What a circus it was, how unfair it was. Her lawyer, if he has any sense, will certainly keep her quiet on this one or try, because they have this whole throw out the trial thing pending. Representation. Again, she may want to throw previous lawyers or even a current one under the bus. Her sentence. If she brings up she thinks that it should be light or nothing at all, that's pretty bold, but maybe she will. Or her appeal. Really bad form to mention an appeal in your sentencing statement, but Sarah could just say, sentence me to whatever because I'm going to appeal this. She said crazier things. So what conclusions can we draw? Well, I think Sarah will have a fairly long sentencing statement, even though it's recommended they be fairly short. I think she will list her injustices and the unfairness of it all. And I don't think she'll show a lot of remorse because to her it was an accident, so what's the big deal? I'm not expecting apologies to George's family, and I don't think she's going to be particularly moved by anything they say. But I'm going to try and watch it live tomorrow, and I certainly am going to have a video tomorrow night analyzing her statement. So let's see how many of these words she uses and what she does with them. Or maybe she'll surprise us all. She certainly has before. Thanks for stopping in to check out this quick little update before the big day tomorrow. I appreciate your time. I know I'm a little late out with it, but I did want to talk to you guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love to have your subscription. This is a great group of people to hang around with. And until I see you tomorrow night in the follow-up video, please use your words wisely and well. Take care.